Hello my friends, and welcome to a topic that has been highly requested, steroids and bodybuilding and me and all of that. That's what we're going to cover today. First I'm going to go into my opinion of steroids, have I taken steroids, have I considered steroids, all that kind of stuff, and then I'm going to go into my thoughts on, sports and bodybuilding and using steroids and whether I think it's okay or not ethically and all that good stuff. So the absolutely most common asked question and most accusation is, you are on steroids, or have you ever taken steroids in your life? And the answer to that question is absolutely, unequivocally, no. I've never taken steroids in my life. Now, have I considered steroids before in my life? The answer is yes. Now, I would say for most dudes who are starting to lift in their young teens and are legitimately obsessive over their weightlifting, their bodybuilding, maybe their powerlifting, whatever it is, they're gonna consider at some point taking steroids because they're gonna see their friends take pro hormones or their friends take steroids, or they're gonna be looking up to their heroes and they're gonna find out that their heroes are taking steroids and they're gonna think, okay, I've heard a lot of horror stories about testosterone or steroids or whatever, but is it real? And then you're gonna go do some research yourself, and then from that point on is where you weigh it, right? But yeah, when I was starting 14, 15 years old weightlifting, after about a year or two, I was like, man, I like this whole thing. I love the gains, I love the weights, I love the feel of it all. I wonder how bad steroids really are, because wouldn't it be rad if you could take something that would just add weight onto you, add muscle, size, strength, all that stuff, right? So I went and I researched my little 15-year-old fingers off, my little fingertips off, checked around, and I was reading through just like tons and tons and tons of articles. So that's how I learn, is I like to Google things. If I'm interested in learning something, I just immediately Google it and read for hours and hours and hours. And basically what I came down to from researching all that was that taking testosterone, taking steroids of any type, or pro hormones, anything really that affects your endocrine system, and your endocrine system is basically, just think of it as what regulates your testosterone hormone level or your estrogen levels, right? What I found out is that if you take that stuff when you're at a young age, then for the rest of your life, your endocrine system is going to be compromised in some sort of a way. Meaning that to continue, being big and stuff from the first steroid cycle you took, you're going to have to continue taking more steroid cycles. You can't just make gains on a cycle and then stop and then you're fine, right? And if you take steroids, then when you come off of steroids, in my personal opinion and from what I've personally read, wherever your natural testosterone baseline was, after you take a cycle and you put all that fake testosterone into your body and raise your testosterone, and then you come off of it, your body will never quite come back to its original natural testosterone baseline, simply because it had to shut off its natural production to accept all the synthetic testosterone. And then you get off of it, and then your natural testosterone output is much lower than your natural original testosterone baseline. Does any of that make sense to you guys? I hope this is making sense. Basically what I'm saying is I read through it, pro hormones, testosterone, any of those other things you can take like IGF or human growth hormone, or I don't know, anything else, any other weird little thing you can think of. I've just found out that if it affects your endocrine system, then it's going to affect it forever, and it's going to drop your natural testosterone output forever. And so for me, that sounds terrible. It sounds like something I never want to play with. I don't ever want to do that. And to be honest, I'm going to be doing this forever in terms of lifting. I'm going to be lifting forever and ever and ever, at least if I'm able to and I don't get injured and die or something. But with being able to hit it naturally, I don't feel like I need to do testosterone because I already feel pretty decent. I'm never fully satisfied. I never think like, oh man, this is the pinnacle of my entire physique or whatever, and I'm so happy. But I'm not angry with my gains. I don't think I've wasted any time or anything like that. I don't think I need to make up for anything, and I'm satisfied with the gains that I'm able to make on a natural basis. Now I know they're going to be very much so diminishing as we come to the next 10 years of my lifting, because I've been 9 years in, but I just don't feel the need for testosterone, and I just do not see the side effects as being worth it by any means. Now real quick, let's talk about bodybuilding and steroids, and or sports and steroids. What do I think about that? Do I think you should be able to take testosterone and still perform in a sport? Honestly, and this might be a little bit selfish of me, but I think it's actually pretty awesome to see people who are on testosterone performing at the highest level of high in a sport, in a passion, or in lifting or bodybuilding, something like that. Now, I think it does create this kind of unfair thing, because if you let the best of the best elite, like already the best that you can possibly be, if you let them take testosterone, than anyone else who was at that best of the best, naturally amazing athlete, skill level on point, practicing for years and years and years. You give the other person testosterone, then everybody else to continue being the best pro level ever has to take testosterone. No matter what their qualms are with taking testosterone or steroids, they have to do it to continue competing at the highest ESPN level of sports. So that does make it kind of unfair. It's almost like saying, like, you have to do this or you can't be in this club. You know, you have to do this drug right here or you can't come into this cool club that we all have right here. So I think that part kind of sucks, but I personally do like seeing people perform at their highest of high levels. It's very entertaining to see, you know what I'm saying? When you see those guys who are doing like the Olympics or whatever, and they're freaking crazy, like rowing through their little race, rowing, swimming thing. You guys don't even know what I'm talking about. It's like rapid water river rowing. I don't know what I'm saying, but I think it's fun to watch. Same thing with like bodybuilding, you know, before everyone was like crazy on this testosterone stuff, you would have relatively natural looking physiques. Of course, people were taking like small amounts of testosterone or whatever, and that was like the pro elite level. And now you have people just like putting pharmaceutically large amounts of testosterone, growth hormone, IGF, like all this different stuff into their body, and now you have these freaks, these monsters. And I'm not saying that I would ever want to be one of those guys, but it is kind of fun to watch. It's like it's a human experiment. So I guess that topic kind of gets iffy because it kind of sucks to be someone who's trying to perform at their highest level and trying to become the best of the best. But if you don't want to take testosterone steroids, you know that you'll never quite be the very best. You know, the NFL best, the ESPN best, whatever it is, the world champion best. It's just not possible because someone else is going to be outperforming you. Well, I mean, maybe skill will trump that in certain sports, but depending on the sport, you know, if it's like powerlifting or something like that, someone who's on testosterone is most likely going to outperform you if you guys have been training the same amount of time. The last point I do want to make about testosterone and steroids is that to me, I feel like you should do what you want to do with your body. Whatever you want to do to make you happy, that's what you should do, as long as you're not hurting someone else. I've always said that line, and I truly believe that line. As long as you're not hurting somebody else, then do what you want to do. But I think the line gets crossed when you start bragging to other people who are not on steroids when you are on steroids. You see what I'm saying? So say you have this crazy deadlift, it's like 1,000 pounds, or like you're like 270 pounds of pure lean muscle, bro. But the people you're bragging to have been training just as long as you, but they're not as far as you because you're enhanced. I think that's the point where it becomes ridiculous. Like, I feel like you should have that understanding in mind and that maturity of mind to understand that, like, yo, these people have been training for a decade as well as I have, but I've been taking testosterone. So I can't brag about this extra, 50 yards of progression that I have over these people because we're all in the same spot. I just decided to take something and they didn't. Now, completely devoid of any steroids or testosterone at all, I think bragging is the least attractive trait for anybody. Just period. If you want people to respect what you've done, your goals, your gains, your achievements and stuff, then you should not brag. You should be modest. You should be humble. Because as soon as you cross that border of bragging about what you've done, literally nothing you've done, to me at least, matters at all. At all. Whatever you're saying, I'm just like, I don't care, because you care so much and you think you are so great. When it comes to steroids, my personal belief, my personal view on the whole thing is I don't ever want to touch them. I'm not planning on ever touching them in my life. I just don't see the side effects and the negative side effects being quite worth the benefits of it, just for my own personal goals and for what I personally want to do in my life. I think that in sports, it is very interesting and very fun to see what it can do to people to bring people from an elite level to a hyper elite level. But I also think that it is a little bit unfair for those people who are trying to do that elite level of competing while having to compete against people who are not naturalists, you know what I'm saying? And then finally, I think that no matter who you are, you should never brag. Bragging is the least attractive trait of anybody, especially someone who's accomplished something, so don't do it. So there it is, my friends. There are my thoughts on the topic of steroids and whether I'm doing them, whether I think I should do them in the future, whether sports people should do them, everything I think on steroids. I hope you guys enjoyed this topic. If you have anything to input on this, because I know this is a very heated topic, I know you guys have plenty of thoughts, and I'm sure things were coming up while you were listening to this video. Leave them in the comments below. Let me know what you're thinking. Give this video a thumbs up if you thought it was alright, and if you support TV on the Week. CT.
Lift heavy or die, MIRIN, motherfucker.